So welcome to Japan or not. So I started to vlog in Japan, but I just didn't really get an opportunity to vlog. My main reason for going to Japan was to basically time-lapse two different cities, which was Osaka and Tokyo. Having been to Osaka last November, I saw this amazing futuristic looking city with very tall buildings and lots of observation areas, which was fantastic, and I thought I really must go back. So the opportunity arose and I went back a couple of weeks ago. Now, having been before, I kind of knew what to expect in some circumstances, and it also made me think, okay, do I actually need to get a Japan rail pass when I'm traveling around? Do I actually need it? And for those of you that don't know, this Japan rail pass here could actually come in real handy when it comes to traveling around Japan, as it makes life, or it can make life, a lot cheaper. Now, this isn't kind of a regular vlog that I wanted to do, so in the description what I'm going to do is put a link to a calculator to see if you go to Japan, do you actually need that Japan rail pass? So somebody gave it to me, I think it was on TripAdvisor, and I went there and calculated the journeys that I wanted to do, and it came out that I did need that rail pass. So aside from doing Osaka and Tokyo, I also had decided to go and see some snow monkeys and also to go and see the famous pagoda that overlooks Mount Fuji. Those two trips combined, plus my bullet train trip from Osaka to Tokyo, meant that the Japan rail pass was worth it, although I was only going to use it for essentially 3 different journeys. But in any case, so my first day in Japan was in the city of Osaka. So I had arrived on a flight from Amsterdam, which took about, I think it was 10.5 hours or so to get from Amsterdam to down to Osaka. It's a very long flight, and I was lucky enough to have the emergency seat, which made sleeping on the plane just a little bit easier. And I certainly can say to you now that if you do a long journey such as that, to try and get that emergency seat. Now, when I arrived in Osaka, having been there previously before and getting to know the city a little bit better, one of the first things that I needed to do was get a SIM card for my phone. So there is a camera store, an electronics store actually, that is in near the main Osaka station, I think it is, and I think it's called a Yodobashi camera, so I can put a link in the description again. And when I went there, I got this SIM here, this Ijmyo SIM. So this costs, this is a top-up actually, it's not the actual SIM. So this top-up was 3,000 yen for 2 gigabytes of data. It's about £30, £25, £30 for the data. And then the SIM is probably roughly the same. So that helped me when it came to getting around, and also using my phone if I came across somebody, which is very often in Osaka, that doesn't speak English and you need some help. So I was able to use Google Translate to get myself understood. Now, the first day I went to a place called the Amida Sky Building, I think it is, or the Amida Sky Garden. It is a huge building that overlooks Osaka. It also is very nice because it has an open roof. So when you go on the top, you have this amazing view across the city of Osaka, 360. Now, I didn't do all of the views when I was up there. I was only interested in one particular view to time-lapse, having done it last year, but I got there a bit too late in a way. So this year I wanted to get there in good time and actually do the time-lapse that I wanted to, which is a regular time-lapse, and then also a day-to-night time-lapse. The second day in Osaka was after I was trying to get rid of my jet lag, was up at a place called the Sutenkaku Tower. Hopefully I pronounced that right. That's one of those sort of red and white sort of telecoms tower that you find all over Japan. And this one you can actually go up. It's one of the symbols of the city of Osaka, and it's great because it again has an open air part to it as well. So you can get up there, and if you're lucky, if the right people are on, you can actually use your tripod. So I forgot to mention actually, in the Amida Sky Building, you can use your tripod either on the roof or actually where the glass bit is as well. They don't mind you as long as you're careful and don't put it up too high. So you can get some really nice shots from the Sutenkaku Tower. Now the only problem with that tower is that it actually has restricted opening hours for the open air part. So I think when I was there it was closing around 6 o'clock in the evening, which meant that I was just about able to get the time lapse that I wanted to do, and maybe a panorama or two, and some handheld shots from when I was up there. Now, as I said, it was really nice because I was able to use my tripod. Underneath that, when you go back down the stairs from the open air part, there is actually a glass surround that you can go. I didn't wait around to do some shots there. The reason I didn't is basically the glass is like at a 45-degree angle, so trying to get your tripod and camera up against that glass, trying to get a shot without any reflections is a bit of a nightmare. But I did manage to, as I said, get what I wanted from the open air part of it. The third day that I was in Osaka, I stumbled across a temple, and it was also a bit of a grey weather day, so I didn't do much at all in the city. But as I said, I came across this temple. It was my first sighting of some blossom, which was in the form of the cherry, not the cherry blossom, the plum blossoms. And they're absolutely amazing to see. The smell that comes off of those flowers, the perfume is just so nice. It really is. And it's just, I spent a while there photographing some of the flowers, and I was using my 100 to 400 lens to get really close and you actually just use it like a macro lens. So I got a couple of shots that I'm happy with, but after that I went off to the Sutenkaku Tower again and went up there and got a kind of an apocalyptic looking sunset over the city. It looked as if at one point it was actually going to rain. It didn't, thankfully, and I was able to get the time lapse that I was after, which should be flicking up as I'm speaking. So that was the end of day 3. The fourth day in Osaka, I wasn't actually feeling great at all. So this is actually the day I'd started vlogging. So this tells you, for me, where the priority is at times with the vlog against my actual day job of being a photographer. So I've already been in Osaka for 4 days, and I've already done lots of stuff already, but I've left it to day 4 to actually start vlogging. But you know, I just didn't really feel that great at all. So what I did is I'd gotten up and I'd gotten to Osaka Castle, and I just about got there in time to get a little bit of dawn colour in the sky, but not too much. Sunrise at that time of year is actually behind the camera when you're looking towards the castle, or in the particular angle I was. Somewhere I knew where I'd actually can get a bit of elevation and actually looking over towards the castle. I was hoping in the park that surrounds the castle to actually see more plum blossom flowers, but it wasn't to be. But after I did that, I actually went back to the apartment that I had rented and just flaked out. I just was so tired and not just feeling well at all. So that wasn't a great start to the 4th day in Osaka. Now, on the 4th day, I actually went to Osaka Station to pick up my Japan Rail Pass. So before you actually get this Rail Pass here, what you do is you get a voucher in the post and you have to exchange it at certain railway stations in Japan. So I'd gotten my Japan Rail Pass, and then I'd taken my passport and exchanged it. And when I was at Osaka Station, I said to the lady I was talking to, I said, where could I go in this city that's, or out just near this city with a Japan Rail Pass, or that's not very inexpensive at all on the train? Where could I go that maybe not a lot of people go to? And she suggested to me a waterfall that was on the northwestern part of Osaka. Now, I can't remember the exact name of it at all, but I went there and I thought, yeah, you know, it's kind of okay, but I think it really needs the autumn colour, and if there is cherry blossom or plum blossom there, then it really needs that to actually make it look like something, because otherwise, with a red bridge and no leaves on the trees, it just looked a bit bereft of anything. So after that, I made my way back to Osaka and went to a place that I know that's got a stupendous view across the city. So it's actually quite a bit of way out of the city itself, but it's got a view over towards the city. There's got this amazing road junction that is been built on the edge of Osaka. It's absolutely fantastic. But when I first arrived at this junction, at this the place where you get the view, I was told, sorry, it's closed. And the Japanese guy was just sort of doing this and saying to me, no, sorry, you can't go there. And it's like, why not? So he showed me, and they'd actually just done some kind of redecorating. And so at first I wasn't able to go there. So I begged and pleaded, and he telephoned somebody who came down and said to me, actually, you can go, but we just need to take this away, but please just don't touch this part of the work that we've done, but otherwise you can do what it is you need to. So I was very, very happy to have got that, because I thought I was going to be having to try and dash somewhere else to go and get the time lapse that I had in mind. The fifth day in Osaka was, for me, yet another grey day, and it's extremely frustrating when you go halfway across the world and you're faced with grey days. Now, I know a lot of people could say, well, you could shoot this or shoot this, and it's like, well, for me, there's things that I really have in my mind that I really want to get, and so what I do is I use that off time, that downtime, to actually plan other things that I will be doing if, like for example, the weather breaks, or if there's anything near, because I had a Japan rail pass, for example, so could I go to another city? And so in any case, I was planning other things. Now, one of the things that did come to my mind is that when I'm out and about, I tend to use my telephone a lot for either, it's certainly when I'm in Japan, using Google Translate to get myself understood, or using Google Maps, My Maps, to actually make my way around the city. So basically, if I think, okay, I've plotted some different points on Google My Maps, then I'll use it to get the directions of where it is that I need to go. Now, of course, the problem is with using Google all the time and your phone all the time is that the battery is going to run down, and it's not always convenient to actually try and find someone to just rock up and charge your phone. So I went to a place which I think it's called Bit Camera, and I got this little device here, and this is a power bank, and it's the first time I've had a power bank. Actually, let's say it was the first time I've had a power bank. I actually had a power bank for a time-lapse head that I sold quite a while ago, but I came across this nice little power bank here, and it can charge my phone about 3 different times very quickly, and I use my phone as well when if I'm doing, for example, a day-to-night time lapse. It's quite tedious when you're stuck in one place for an hour and a half and you're doing time lapse. So you're stuck in front of your camera. There's nothing that you can do, and so I just tend to be surfing the internet or whatever, or looking at emails and things like this. So the power bank I thought was a good purchase, and also I knew with some of the plans that I had, going either with the snow monkeys, for example, or going to the pagoda near to Fuji, what was going to be coming, that it was highly unlikely that I would find somewhere to recharge my phone should I need it, because I knew that both of those journeys were going to take probably a couple of hours or so on the train, and I would be bored and would probably be looking at my phone and things like that. So in any case, after that, what I did is I went to a place called the Harukas 300, which I believe is the tallest building in Japan. It's around 300 meters high and 60 floors high as well, and it's absolutely stunning view across Osaka. It's absolutely fantastic, and I did, I think, 5 different time lapse from up there, so it was a very, very enjoyable evening up there. It wasn't an amazing sunset across the city, but I certainly did get some material from up there, and went away really happy, as I knew I'd got something that I was very pleased with. So the 6th day in Osaka was yet another grey day, and I kind of shot myself in the foot a little bit by spending too much time at my apartment, messing around, trying to research things, etc. And I thought, well, I'm going to go back to the Sutenkaku Tower again. And when I actually arrived, it was a Sunday, and there was a massive crowd, and it said there's about a 45-minute wait. And the 2 previous times that I'd been there were during the week, and I just basically went straight up. I paid, went straight up in the lift, went to the top and got what it is that I needed to. This time I just looked at the time and thought, I'm never ever going to make it. And also, if the crowds are like this down here, how on earth is it going to be up the top? And they're probably going to say to me, you can't use a tripod. So I very quickly decided of another location that I hadn't ever been to, and took a chance that there's a place that I know that overlooks the harbour in Osaka, and you get a nice panoramic view of the city. It's a bit far away, but you can get it with a long lens, and absolutely brilliant view across Osaka. So that was the end of my 6th day in Osaka. What came after that? The next stop was Tokyo. So having dispensed with Osaka, I made my way up on the bullet train to Tokyo. It's a journey that takes about 2.5 hours or so, and if you have a Japan Rail Pass, it's certainly worth using it to get a seat reservation for free. So I did that, and it's definitely well worth planning when it is you're actually going to make some of your train journeys. So the last thing you want to do is, if you're tired, be stood up on like 2.5 hour train journey. Now when I arrived in Tokyo, again, it's the biggest city in the world. It has its own metro system, and in Osaka I'd been using cash all the time to pay for my different metro train journeys, and I was doing that for a couple of days in Tokyo and got fed up, and in the end I bought this, which is a Suica card. And basically what this does is that you charge it up with cash, so you avoid having to carry this around all the time. So just charge it up, and basically you swipe it in and swipe it out on your journeys, and it avoids having to root around for change all the time, because Japan is very much a cash-based society. So as much as it's nice to sort of fit in with what the society wants, at times it is a bit of a pain. So that Suica card really did come in handy in the end, just checking in, checking out every time I went into the metro. Now, once I'd found the apartment that I'd rented, what I did is I didn't actually have that much time left at the end of the day, so I went to the famous Shibuya crossing, and I also went to a temple. Now, the temple was just down the road from my apartment. I think it was like a 5-minute walk. So it was really nice. I found it, and I went there because there was a staircase, and going down the staircase were lots of these red torii gates that you have, like at the famous temple in Kyoto. So I went there and waited probably half an hour or so to get a shot without people. I think there was an Instagrammer stood in the middle of the stairs doing what it is that they do. So I had to wait until they had gone to get the photo that I wanted. So I got my photos and then made my way to the Shibuya crossing. So I went there, and yes, it is as mad as you might expect. It is heaving with people. It wasn't too bad, but it was still pretty intense with people, as it is it's a main intersection within the city. Now there are various different places that you can photograph this crossing from. So I went up to one which was newly opened last year in a shop, and I noticed that they said basically as soon as I arrived they said no tripods. However, I did have this with me, and what this is a clamp from Manfrotto, and what you can do with this is, if you've got a round bar, like a round safety bar, you just basically clamp it on there, put your tripod head on there, and hey ho, you get rid of the no tripod ban. So that came in very handy. If you're interested in those, I think about £30, €30 or less. So definitely worth the investment. Yeah, it's a little bit heavy, a little bit clunky, but if you need to get a shot, you need to get it stable, it's definitely worth the cash to get that. So once I'd done the crossing, that was the end of my first day in Tokyo. So my second day in Tokyo, I went to a place called Sensoji, which is a famous temple. I think it's one of the most famous temples in Japan. It's in a small suburb called Asakusa, I think it's pronounced. Don't quote me on that. And fantastic place to walk around. It's free, which is always a bonus. And I got some really nice stuff there. Didn't do any time lapse. I was just there ready to shoot it and just see what I could do with it. Met another photographer and got chatting. He knew me from the Getty forum, although I didn't know of him. But we got chatting and went off and had breakfast, and decided to go off and visit another temple that was on my list and his list. And it's another temple that had some torii gates, but it wasn't quite as good as the one I'd found the day before. So after We went off and found a cafe which had the most amazing chocolate cake, but that's another story. We went our separate ways. So I went to the World Trade Center. Now, the World Trade Center is famous for having a view of Tokyo and also a view of Mount Fuji, but unfortunately, if you're listening to this, they've actually built a building in front of the view, so you can no longer see Mount Fuji from the World Trade Center. It's gone, basically. So if you're going up there expecting to get that famous view of Fuji with the Tokyo Tower, forget it, it's gone. So that was the end of my second day. My third day, I got up late because it was predicted rain, and it did rain. And what I did is I got up, had my breakfast, and then made my way to the Shibuya crossing again, as I wanted to do it in daylight this time. So I used my clamp again, and I got a time lapse that I wanted to, looking down onto the crossing. Bit harsh light, but there's not much that I could do about that. And also I'd bought a lens hood, and because I'd kind of worked out the lens that I wanted to use looking down onto the crossing, and I bought a 77mm lens hood, so it's just a rubber lens hood, so that I could put my lens up to the glass of the view that I'd found and get no reflections at all. So once I'd done that, I actually met up with the photographer I'd met the previous day again, and we decided to go to a place called Roppongi Hills, which is yet another observatory. There's loads around Tokyo, and Roppongi Hills offers a fantastic view across Tokyo. You get an amazing view of the city of Tokyo with the Tokyo Towers. Absolutely fantastic. Now, something I will say to you is that you will see online when you're searching around for views of Tokyo with Mount Fuji, you'll probably see this view with Mount Fuji behind. It is a fake. So don't believe that when you look at a view of Tokyo, you see the Tokyo Tower and behind you see Mount Fuji, that you're going to get that view. You're not going to get it. It's a fake. It does not exist. Somebody has taken it upon themselves to basically Photoshop Fuji and the Tokyo Tower together to create a dreamlike view, I suppose, of Tokyo. It doesn't exist. So forget that. But you still do get an amazing 360 from the Roppongi Hills. Now, the Roppongi Hills also does have an open roof that you can go up to as well. But I didn't go up because they wouldn't let me use my tripod. So no tripods, and I believe no rucksacks either. So that was the end of day 3. Very happy, and said I'd certainly go back to that view again. I'd like to go back and do a time lapse of the Tokyo Tower at night or in the day as well. And but we shall see. Hopefully in April when I go back to Tokyo. My 4th day in Tokyo was in the morning. Yet another grey day. So I decided to just relax a bit and look at the work that I'd done and start a little bit of editing on it. But what I did is this time I actually had researched another crossing, not the Shibuya crossing, but another famous crossing that's in Tokyo, and was doing a time lapse of the crossing and also 1 or 2 other things there. Yet again, it's another one though whereby you need to find a way of blocking out the reflections, because when you go there, you've got like I think there was like a 45-degree angle this way of the glass, so you're sort of looking down onto this crossing, and you can basically, you just have to get a lens hood or something that I've got, which I haven't got with me right now, called a lens skirt, which is like this cloth that's about this sort of square that you can just stick onto a window, and then you avoid all the reflections. So I was doing a couple of time lapses there. And once I'd done that, I then went off to find a street level view of the Tokyo Tower, and was trying to do it sort of in the middle of the road, trying to get a panorama, and I kind of got something, but I ended up just doing a time lapse and thinking, yep, just that'll do. And once I had done that, I then went off to another view of Tokyo, which was the Tokyo Metropolitan City Towers, I think they're called, something like that. There's just 2 sort of old looking towers, quite sort of dramatic looking towers in central Tokyo, and they're free to go up the observatory. It's free to go up to the observatory in the city hall, but there's no tripods. But I did manage to persuade them to let me go elsewhere and actually get a view across towards the Shinjuku Towers, I think they're called, the futuristic sort of looking towers in the Shinjuku area of Tokyo. So I was very happy to get that, and I've also got a contact now in the city of Tokyo, which is always a bonus for somebody like myself who's doing this full time, is building up a network of people that can help you when you're going to a city like Tokyo. My 5th day in the Tokyo area was actually my day to go and see the snow monkeys. So I'd worked out the train that I needed to get up to the area where the snow monkeys are, which would get me there around 9 o'clock or so, which was a bullet train up so far. I can't remember the name of the city. And then I had to take a private rail train from that city to where the snow monkeys were. So of course the Japan Rail Pass, that was one of the reasons why I got it. And then what I had to do from there was pay cash on this private rail train. I met a French photographer, which I spent the day when I was exploring the snow monkeys, and it was really good because he'd actually been there the day before, so he was able to tell me how we could easily get up to where the snow monkeys were. So once you arrive by train at the end of the line at this station, you then get on a bus, and it's about half an hour or so, I think, on the bus. And then once you've done the bus journey, you've then got another half an hour walk to get to where the snow monkeys are. And there were quite a lot of people there. Not as many as I would have expected, I guess, but still quite a lot of people. And it's quite interesting to see. And what was even made it even more interesting for me when I went there is that it had actually been snowing, and there was still quite a lot of snow around on the ground when I was there. So it was interesting to be so close to the monkeys, where they're just running around your legs and fighting each other and playing, and I didn't get lots and lots of monkeys that were bathing in the onsen in the hot spring, but I got one or two. Well, it was okay, but you can spend absolutely hours there photographing these monkeys. You think you're going to go there and you're going to get it all in an hour or so, or 30 minutes, and I'll tell you now, it's fascinating to be so close to nature with a camera and just be able to have that opportunity to photograph nature at its finest. So the other photographer that I'd gone with, he was doing his thing and I was doing mine, and you come away with some fantastic shots and the experience of just being so close to nature. So it basically takes up a whole day. It takes about, I think it's 2.5 hours or so to get there from Tokyo, the whole journey, something like that. So, you know, if you're going to make a day trip from Tokyo, it is really a whole day that you're going up there. So that was the end of my 5th day in the Tokyo area. My last and 6th day in the Tokyo area was spent going to Mount Fuji, the Mount Fuji area. So it took about, I think 2.5 to 3 hours on 3 different trains to get there. So 2 Japan rail trains, which is where my Japan Rail Pass came in, and then a private rail train, which I think was something like 1,400 yen to get to the station where you go to for the famous red pagoda that overlooks Mount Fuji. So once I was there, I'd been keeping an eye on a webcam that I've got a link to that you can see what's going on in that area. And most of the journey there, it seemed as though Mount Fuji was clear. So I thought, I'm going to get a great shot, I'm going to get what I want, dispense with that, and then go and have an explore of the area. But by the time I arrived, Fuji had started to cloud over, which was really frustrating, but that is the unfortunate realities of being a travel photographer, as I've said many times before. So I got a shot and it was okay, not great. So I ended up waiting something like 3 hours for the cloud to clear, and I think it was around 11 o'clock or so in the morning. So by then the light was starting to get a little bit harsh, and also by then, when I first arrived around 8:30 or so, there weren't many people at all, which I was quite surprised at. But by 11:30, 11 o'clock, then of course all the busloads of tourists are starting to arrive and wanting to get their photo and whatever else. So it was a little bit frustrating, but what can you do? So I got my photo, went off to find some lunch. By the time I'd finished my lunch, Fuji had clouded over yet again, and it did not appear for the rest of the day. But what I did do is I thought, well, I'm here, so I'm going to just have a look around the area. And I didn't take any photos. I was just doing a recce for a proposed tour that I might run in 2020 or 2021 to that area. So I thought at least I sort of can get an idea of what it is that's in the area and where the different viewpoints are, whether some of the pictures that we keep seeing of that area are real or whether they're fake, like for example the one I was talking about with the Tokyo Tower and Mount Fuji. But I think I found where pretty much the photos are that we are seeing where they are, and hopefully when I'm going back again in April, I should be able to find some more interesting spots to photograph Mount Fuji from, because I'm going to have a car this time. So that was my final day in the Tokyo area. I went back and then I just had to prepare myself for 3 different flights to get back to France. So my final day in Tokyo was spent basically travelling to the airport, to Haneda, I think it's pronounced, airport, and I was hoping I was going to get my plane because I'd never been to this airport before, and I had like an hour's journey in the morning to get down there, and I pleaded with the check-in desk to let me have a window seat as far back as I could on the plane, because when I fly I very often will take, obviously I have my camera rucksack with me, but I keep my camera with me with a 24 to 70mm lens on, because if it's a clear day and it's interesting when you're flying, then you can get some really nice shots out of the window. And I have sold actually a few plane window shots before, so it's always worth taking your camera. So luckily for me, on that plane there was a lady that sat next to me, and I was able to convince her to let me have the window seat. And when we flew out from the airport, it was cloudy at first, but once we got above the clouds, we then started to come upon the Mount Fuji area. And lo and behold, when we went past Fuji, it was clear enough that I was able to get some very, very nice photos of Mount Fuji from an aerial position. Very nice, very sharp, and that's why I said it's always worth keeping your camera with you if you know that your flight path is going to do something that's interesting. And I'm actually going to do a vlog at some point on actually photographing through plane windows and some of the things you can and can't do with your camera. But I was very, very happy to get one of my last photos of Japan in February, of looking down onto Mount Fuji, and very, very nice scenery from up above, and was able to see a few of the Japan Alps as well. And my main journey back from Osaka, because I flew from Tokyo to Osaka, we actually flew over Siberia, and again I've got some photos. I haven't actually checked them yet to see if they're sharp or not, but I think they're sharp, looking down onto frozen Siberia, and it looked absolutely stunning down there on the way back on the flight from Japan back to the Netherlands. So I was very, very happy. And there you go, that's unusual vlog. I know it's not really what I wanted to do for Japan. I wanted to do more, but I am going back again in April for cherry blossom season. I know I'm saying I'll definitely do something, but I should definitely be able to do something as I've got a car. So when I'm out and about in the landscape, then it's a lot easier for me to vlog. But in any case, there's a few things coming up. So I've got a YouTube meeting in Northumberland this coming weekend, when there's vlogs hopefully going up just before that. So I think that's landscape photography on YouTube UK. So that's the group that it's part of. I think that's what I call it. You'll have to forgive me if it's not. And then after that, I've got a conference in Berlin. Straight after that, I'm in Mongolia, and I will be staying with some eagle hunters for 10 nights. I come back, and then I'm off to Lewis and Harris in the northwest of Scotland, the Outer Hebrides. Come back, a few days at home, and then I'm in Japan for cherry blossoms. So I have a massively packed schedule over the next 6 weeks or so. But in any case, thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the vlog. Sorry again that it's probably not really what you expected from Japan, me sitting on the edge of my bed yakking to you. But in any case, thanks so much for subscribing. Thank you to any new subscribers that are coming along. See you again on the next vlog. Take care. Thanks so much. It's appreciated.